And so this is just another good way to save money, to think consciously about the things that you're buying and sort of the gain that you get from it. I have these Converse CDGs that I've had for 7 years. What's up, y'all? Today we're going to be talking about the 10 things that I no longer buy. You can save a lot of money thinking ahead, planning ahead, and being more conscious about the financial decisions that you make in your life. These are things that I feel like I no longer need in my life, or things that I can cut back in to save some money. Let's go. Obviously, in growing your wealth, there are two factors to it. There is one, your income, so how much you're able to invest, and then two, your expenses. And working on either one will help you be able to grow your wealth. And today we're talking about the expenses portion, how I was able to cut back on some of my expenses to save some more money. Number one on the list is fast fashion or cheap clothes. So I realized that by buying a bunch of cheap clothes, I only wear them once or two times. They go into the wash, they shrink, they don't last very long. So what I've been doing a lot recently is buying some more quality pieces from quality brands. This doesn't mean it has to be like something super expensive or in your face, but a lot of these companies will make a lot of high quality basic goods, and these are the type of things that I try to wear. For these basics, I primarily shop at Abercrombie, and I'll get a bunch of like nice basic essential tees there, and they're very good quality, super soft, and these don't shrink, and they'll last me a super long time. So I think investing some additional money into these basics is great. They'll last you a long time, and you won't have to buy like multiple of them. With these sort of fast fashion clothes, it seems like you're going to save a lot of money by buying a shirt or a jacket that's maybe $5 to $10 cheaper, but in the long run, it's going to be more expensive because you're buying a bunch of things that won't last very long. And so they'll either shrink, they'll rip, and they won't last as long. But if you pay the extra $10 to buy something of nicer quality, then it'll last longer and hopefully it'll last you a lifetime. Another important thing is I try to buy all my clothes on Black Friday. I'm still able to find better deals on Black Friday rather than buying them outright. Of course, I'll still buy some clothes throughout the year, but on Black Friday is when I get the majority of my clothes. And then if you pair this with something like Rakuten, you'll get some points back on that, plus the additional credit card points that you get shopping. So with that all being said, you're able to save a little bit more money that way. Number two on the list is upgrading technology, specifically my phone. I'm a huge tech geek. I love having the newest technologies and having things that work well with me. For instance, I have the iPhone 16 Pro, and I have like AirPods Pros, and I have like Sony XM4 headphones as well. I have the Apple Watch Series 9. So I have a lot of nice tech, and I like using them on the daily. These are super important to me since I'm really big into tech, and I like having good quality gear. But with the way that technology has progressed, and especially phones, I don't feel the need to upgrade my phone every single year or even every other year. Prior to this iPhone 16 Pro, I had the iPhone 13 Pro. So I had that for 3 years and it worked great. The only reason why I did upgrade was because my phone carrier gave me a free upgrade to the iPhone 16 Pro. And if it's free, I was going to take it. But my iPhone 13 Pro would have lasted me at least another year without any issues. So I think with the way technology is going, you can sort of save money by not having to purchase the new one every single year. And same thing with my AirPods. I have the AirPod Pro 2, and they work just fine. The Pro 3s don't offer that much of an increase to the Pro 2s. So I'm perfectly content keeping my current AirPod Pro 2, and if there's a significant improvement, then I can switch and jump to the new version. Or if my AirPods break, then I'll switch to the new version. But I don't feel the need to have to constantly upgrade all the time now. Number three on the list is buying designer clothes. I never really bought designer clothes, but growing up, I kind of liked wearing a little bit flashier clothes. Growing up, I liked wearing a lot of streetwear brands that were a little bit more pricey, like Stussy, and I used to get it just because it said Stussy. But as I've matured, I realized that I don't really need all that stuff to flex. I just want to get good quality clothes that fit me and look good on me. I don't necessarily care too much about the brand. I don't need it to be like plastered Gucci across the chest or anything like that. So for me, similar to the fast fashion point that we talked about earlier, I prefer to have some nice quality pieces, but usually what I'll wear is like a nice flannel or a jacket with a plain t-shirt. I want them to be good quality, but I don't need a name plastered on them. Number four on the list is streaming subscriptions. I used to pay for a lot of these different streaming platforms, and I no longer pay for them. Point being is they're getting really expensive and they have ads on them too, compared to like 4 years ago when they're much cheaper and had no ads. And now it seems like all of the content is moving to Netflix, HBO, Paramount Plus, Hulu. So there's just too many to be paying for. And so I just cut it out completely. I watch a lot of my content on YouTube, which is free, which is where you guys are watching this right now. And YouTube has such a vast amount of content. It's great. You can binge watch forever. There's some really good content creators out there. Additionally, if I want to watch live TV, I have an antenna. And so I'm able to watch, the NFL on there and a bunch of games on like ABC, Fox 11, NBC. So if I ever do want to watch something like live sports or the news, I can watch it on that. But with the way that streaming is coming up and so many new players are joining the game, it's replacing cable with something that is potentially even more expensive since all the different companies are offering their own packages and they're no longer being bundled the way cable was. Number 5 on the list is plastic water bottles. Plastic water bottles don't seem too expensive, right? You can buy a pack of 24 for like $10, but compared to the alternative of just buying one water bottle and being able to use it over and over again, that's so much cheaper. Bottled water is very expensive. It is around 100 times more expensive than tap water. If I can just filter that tap water and drink it from a reusable water bottle, then I'm saving a lot of money that way. I used to always take a plastic water bottle and bring that with me everywhere, but I decided to switch to using a reusable water bottle, bringing that with me. It doesn't cause any more issues than having a plastic water bottle would because in essence, you're still carrying that same amount of volume. The size is the same, and it's just cheaper long term. Also better for your health if you can get a reusable metal water bottle. And also, I live in California, so all the bottled water is a little bit more expensive because they have the California CRV. So that's even another incentive to use a reusable water bottle. Number 6 on the list is one-time clothing. If you can tell, a lot of my money was previously spent on clothing based off of some of the other stuff we had on this list. And so this was an area I was really able to cut back on. So what I mean by one-time clothing is clothes that I'll wear for specific occasions and I'll never wear it daily again. So like I said, right now I mostly wear like a thin jacket or a flannel with a nice basic tee. But in my closet, I still have a lot of one-time occasion clothing. Like in my closet right now, one thing I regret is I bought a nice like going out shirt. It was this camp collar beige button-up shirt, and it's a nice shirt. And I looked at it, I was like, wow, this is a really nice shirt. I'll wear this whenever I go out. And quite frankly, I don't go out too often. Like I have this shirt, I've worn it 1 or 2 times, and I haven't really worn it since then. And so I want to be able to buy clothes that I can wear more daily and stuff that I can wear with different outfits. From previous purchases, I have some clothes that I like wearing specifically with 1 or 2 different outfits, but they're not diverse enough that I can wear with multiple outfits. So now when I'm trying to buy clothes, I try to keep in mind how does this fit within my current wardrobe and am I able to style it with many different outfits. Number 7 on the list is shoes. I used to collect a lot of shoes and I used to wear a bunch of different types of shoes and and so this was an area I was able to cut back on to save some more money. I still have a bunch of the pairs of shoes that I bought previously. I just don't wear them all as much. And so this has sort of incentivized me to stop buying more shoes. Quite honestly, I generally gravitate to wearing the same shoes over and over again, even though I have other shoes in my closet. And it just makes it so much easier to pick my outfits and not have to think about what shoe I'm throwing on. And so most of the time, I'm wearing my Reebok Club C90s, I believe they're called. I've had these for like 3 or 4 years, and I've dailied these. Obviously, they're a little bit beat, but I think they still look in pretty good condition given the amount of wear that I've put on them. These are super comfortable daily shoes. They go well with any outfit. So these have lasted me a long time, and I daily wear them. And I have other shoes in my closet that I just don't wear anymore. For example, when I talk about other shoes that I don't wear too often, I have these Converse CDGs that I've had for, I don't know, like 5 to 7 years. But these are like 150, 160. And I wear these on certain occasions, but I haven't gotten good enough use out of them compared to something like my Reebok Club C90s. I already have a bunch of these shoes as well in my collection, so I don't feel the need to buy anymore. And even going forward, as these shoes start to wear out and I stop to wear them less and less and have to toss them out, I probably won't continue to buy new shoes. Going forward, I would like to have maybe 4 pairs of shoes. I'd like to have like my everyday shoe, which would be like my Reebok Club C90s. My second shoe would be my gym shoes, which are honestly like some beaters if you go on a hike. And then my number 3 is my running shoes that I talked about in a previous video that you should check out here. And my fourth shoe would be to dress up a little bit. Those would be the 4 shoes I'd have in my rotation. 8 on my list is books. I am an avid reader. I like to read a lot. I like to learn about new things. But books are like very expensive. And books are a commodity that you can find free in many different places. There's so many libraries near me that I can borrow books from, and they're free there, and they have a whole collection. So there's so many good ways to pick up new information, and you don't necessarily have to pay for all of these books. There are some books I like to keep and own and read over and over again and hold on to. And so these are the books that I will choose to pay for and I'll happily pay for. But there are a lot of books that I read that are sort of one-time reads, or there are a lot of books that I'd like to have to keep in my collection. These are some books I'd like to pass down generation to generation, or lend out to some friends and let them read it as well, because I want to share the knowledge that I've learned. And currently, just for fun, I'm reading a book called Influence, which is one of the most classic books where you can learn about persuasion and how people use it and how you can use it in your own favor. But this is a book I'd want to keep in my collection, so this is something that I purchased. But since I'm reading so many books, there are some books I want to keep, some books I don't necessarily need to buy. And so I think it's sort of finding that correct balance of what you want to buy and own versus what you can just borrow from the library. Number 9 on the list is buying name brand items versus the generic store brand. I like to save a lot of money by buying the generic store brand, because a lot of these things, like, I won't really be able to tell the difference between name brand and store brand. Obviously, there are some things I like to buy that are name brand, which is the occasional soda or some chips. Usually I will buy the name brand for those, but there are a lot of other things that I can buy that is store brand and I'll be perfectly happy with, and I wouldn't even notice the difference. One thing that comes to mind for me is like cough medicine. They have the same ingredients, they have the same medicine, the same dosage, and so I'm not really drinking it for the flavor or anything like that. And the medicine has the same ingredients, the same dosage, and I'm taking it every once in a while. I'm more than happy to buy the generic store brand and get a 30% discount on that. Number 10, the last one on the list. This one is buying food at the airport. Airport food is ridiculously marked up really high in order to cover their fees. And when I was younger, I used to always buy a water bottle there, and I used to buy food there. And so every time I take a plane trip, it would cost me around $30 just for food and drinks. And with all the traveling that I've done in my life, I realized that I don't necessarily need to pay this $30 every time I travel. I found out that I can just bring an empty water bottle, fill it up at the airport, and the water is filtered there too, and I'd bring a sandwich. For some reason growing up, I didn't realize that you could bring your own food to the airport. And so now I'll just pack a sandwich and I'll eat that as my meal. And so this way I'm able to save $28 every time I go to the airport compared to what I would pay when I buy food and water at the airport. And so this is just another good way to save money, to think consciously about the things that you're buying and sort of the gain that you get from it. And so with that being said, those are the 10 things that I've stopped buying and have saved me a lot of money. Let me know down in the comments below some of the things that you guys have stopped purchasing and have helped you save some more money. See you in the next video.